Welcome to Neighbor, panel discussion on the neighborhood organizing in the days of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Valerie O.T. Nellis. Neighbor to Neighbor seeks to equip residents and neighborhood organizations with the tools they need to preserve and improve their neighborhoods. In these unprecedented times, it is our hope to shed light on how to do the work of neighborhood organizing in this challenging era. This is the fourth in a 6-part series, and we have invited 8 wonderful neighborhood leaders, community organizers to help us explore this topic. As they answer the questions, I should say, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and their neighborhood and their organization, and we'll get started. How do we support neighbors who are fearful and anxious during this time?
That's a hard one. This is Brenda Morrow with the Organized Neighbors of Edge Hill and the Edge Hill Resident Association, as well as with the Edge Hill Family Resource Center. Support for our residents, because a lot of them, you know, they're at home, they're used to being out, and they're getting depressed, they're getting a lot of stress, especially if they're sitting up at home watching TV, listening to all that stuff. It's so much stuff to absorb in one day. One of my gardeners, Miss Mildred is, well, she'll be 96. And she is so hurt from the fact that she can't get in that garden. We haven't gotten in the garden yet. And so next week we're going to do that because gardening is a stress reliever. It's always been a stress reliever for me. You know, if I'm digging in the ground, if somebody done upset me, I start to say the real thing. Somebody done upset me, I shovel that dirt, and each shovel of dirt I throw is them. But I think that when, like I said, the building partnerships, what I've been doing is listening to residents talking about what they're feeling, especially during some of my phone calls, and I'm able to refer them to places like the Tennessee Mental Health Cooperative and different places like that, or the crisis line. Sometimes if it's just a phone call, if they can just talk, somebody's willing to just listen to them talk, it relieves that stress and that anxiety. And again, with having resources for them, if they're worried about being able to eat, when you make sure that they know different places to get them something to eat. And then as a leader, if you know that they're not able to, make sure there's a resource to get it to them. I don't know, I just feel like once you link people with different agencies and people that can help them relieve that stress, also giving them the opportunity to release their own creativity. If you've got residents that are knitters or crocheters or something like that, and say, well, if you could just knit this, knit 6 or 7 of these, and we'll present it. This lady's having a baby, and it would be good if the resident association, and you especially, could knit something for them. You know, just giving them the opportunity to be creative and, you know, I guess, like I say, identify their own capabilities in the community so that they can be a part of something and don't feel like they just got to listen to stuff. And again, as we said in the past, give them some facts so they don't have to be scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ms. Brenda, I really want to jump in here. I'm Kia Jarman, a board member for Neighbor to Neighbor. And you brought up 3 of my points that I was jotting over here as I was listening. You were then making the point. One being about over communication, because when you have that communication with your residents, then they're less likely to be anxious about, because anxiety comes from unknown as one of the ways in which anxiety shows up. So if you don't know what's happening, then of course we're all anxious, because there are moments where we're sitting and we have no clue what that siren is. Is that relative to my neighborhood? Is that something else? Is that another emergency about to happen? And so that over communication. I liked that you talked about partnerships. One of the things I shared with someone a few weeks ago, this was before colleges let out, universities let out, but being able to even partner with the social work department at a university close by you, and asking if students could be, able as a part of their class to call and check in, or to provide some mental health assistance, or sometimes even just training on how to kind of self-actualize, if you will. Being able to say, how do I do meditation or breathing exercises, or is this simple exercise? I've seen some neighborhoods in apartment complexes and other places who've done like cooking classes on Zoom, or who've done a guided meditation on Zoom. And then the third thing you said, Ms. Brenda, that I think it would be really helpful for people is that shared leadership. How do we put our residents in a position to have leadership opportunities? And so when you say, there's someone in the community who really needs us, the one thing that gets all of us inspired to move is if someone else requires our assistance. So being able to help somebody else really could be the way to pull you out of your own anxiety and fear, because now you have someone else to be concerned about. And as nurturers, and I'll lean on the women, but as nurturers as we are, that's what we want to gravitate to. But being able to use everybody in the community to say, how do we support someone else, is a really strong way to get people out of their own, kind of get you out of your own mind in some ways, because some of this is just about distraction. How do we distract the mind from all that's happening? So I appreciate those 3 points that you made. You made them, but that's what I was just hearing, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's all about distraction. That really is the key there. There's so much going on in the world. I'm Jordan Huffman. I'm with the Neighborhood Association. Sorry, I'm gonna not introduce myself again. The thing about just keeping your mind active is it just really helps stimulate your mind. It gives you something to focus on. There's so much negativity in the world right now. It really allows you to focus on something positive. So, Brenda, like you said, if it's something as small as gardening, which I love, by the way, I'm like you, that it's really a good way to let out some anxiety. But even if you've got sidewalks in your neighborhood and you're walking around, wave at people. We've talked about that before. Just that simple act of kindness really goes a long way. I run every morning in my neighborhood. And if you're walking along the sidewalk, whether you wave or not, I'm still going to wave and I'm still going to smile. And I'm hoping that makes an impact on your day.
Very good.
Yes.
Any other suggestions on fear and anxiety that we can help our neighbors with?
Yeah, I think this is Spencer Edelstein with Rosebank Neighbors. I believe in order for us to help with the fears, it goes back to communication, which we've touched on time and time again. We need to understand the fears in order to alleviate the fears, because all fears are different. We don't know what's going on in their personal lives. Everybody knows that everybody has COVID. A lot of Nashville has tornado issues, but there's still the world doesn't stop, right? So not everybody's fears are going to be the same. So it's not a one size fits all. It really goes down to being in touch with the residents, being in touch with the people, and understanding what their fears truly are in order to help them.
Very good.
I'm Jim Hawk from Neighbor to Neighbor. I think it's important for us to realize that everybody handles extreme stress differently, and that there's a difference between getting stressed out over not having enough plates for a potluck and being stressed out over the COVID-19 crisis.
Yes.
Some people who handle the plate situation with extreme grace just go crazy right now because of the COVID-19. I'm a adult child of an alcoholic, and so I'm used to tornadoes in my house. this is a calm, peaceful time for me that I can handle this extreme stress. Now, normal things drive me a little bit crazier, but we gotta remember that as we're dealing with people, don't expect people to be exactly the same as they always are, because this is a different time. And so, you know, getting angry at someone because they're not following through on something when they've always followed through on things in the past, is something for us to remember. This is maybe because of this situation, and it's really important for us to check in on them because it's a sign that something's not right. And it's time for us to care for those people as well.
Yeah. Hi, this is Mike Hodge. I'm the organizing director for NOAH, Nashville Organized for Action and Hope. And I spent 17 years working for Neighbor to Neighbor when it was called Neighborhoods Resource Center. I want to re-emphasize some things you all already said. Getting really good information to people, I think that's very, very critical. Yeah. And just playing off of something said recently is giving folks something to do. It could be something that it seems inconsequential, but it also could be something to, so maybe some of the people that are anxious, give them the job of getting information to others who are anxious. Or, you know, in some way, people need to feel they have power over their own lives. And when they don't feel that, it's very discouraging. It's depressing. That's when I think many of us have mental health issues, is when we don't feel we have the power over our own lives. So finding some way to give people a piece of that power back. It also might be something that's actually just fun in the neighborhood. NOAH's not really a neighborhood organization, but we're organizing a spoken word and music event using Zoom. We're also doing a book read. We're all reading How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. And we want to have a discussion about that. And then finally, we've got, NOAH tends to be middle-aged and older people, but we've got some young adults. So we're organizing a Zoom meeting of young adults to think about the issues that we're facing. So just some way to give people something constructive to do, or maybe just even something fun to do, like music.
Very good. Very good. You all are wonderful. And I want to thank my panelists for sharing your expertise and knowledge. I also want to thank the audience for joining in. I want to make a correction. This is actually the 5th segment in a series. I said 4th at the top of the show program. So you'll please join us for the next installments of Leading in Crisis, the series. Thank you so much.